Welcome back in our kitchen. My name is Michel, chef of restaurant at Nonnetje in Harderwijk in the Netherlands. And I'm going to show you exactly from A to Z how we make our pastel de nata. Pastel de nata is the national pastry of Portugal, the Portugal where my wife comes from. And she is my biggest inspiration. So as a chef, today I'm proud to say that the love I feel for my wife is also my signature on the plate. And the pastel de nata is one example of that. So I'm going to make it for you, but first let me tell you, this national pastry is made out of puff pastry with a cream, and the cream has the flavor of cinnamon and the peel of lemon. And it looks simple, but to make them perfect, it comes to the detail, because in the detail you can make the difference. This starts by making your own puff pastry, which I will show you in a minute. So the magic of the pastel de nata is the freshness. So when you eat them, like 15 to 20 minutes when they come out of the oven, then you have them perfect. Because you don't burn your mouth, because they're still too hot, but they're still warm. And then it's crunchy on the outside and it's smooth, sweet on the inside. And then with the flavor of the cinnamon and the peel of lemon, it's just divine. Heaven. We start to make our puff pastry with a dough, a basic dough, which is made by 325 grams of flour, 175 grams of water, 10 grams of salt. Just mix it and then let it rest. Then we do some flour on the bench and the basic dough on the flour. We are going to flatten it a little bit, because in this basic dough we are going to fold our butter. Because you can make it with margarine. Forget it. The real thing is butter. In this dough, we put a piece of butter of 250 grams. Just in the middle, like this. We're going to fold the butter in the basic dough. So puff pastry, millefeuille in French, 1,000 layers. It's called millefeuilles in Portugal. So when you have fold the butter in the basic dough, we're going to flatten it by hand. First. Because this is the shape we want it in. And then a little bit of flour on top, underneath. Otherwise it will stick to the bench. And then we are going to roll it like this. Try to respect the shape, because afterwards we're going to fold it, and it needs to be as even thick on every corner. I've been working on our recipe for 10 years now, trying to search for that certain point of perfection. I always say perfection doesn't exist, but you can try to achieve it. This is what we do in our restaurants. Perfection doesn't exist, but we try to get as close as possible. So now we come to the point where we can fold it for the first time. And we're going to fold it in 3. We call it a half tour. The first one. We're going to give them 2. Okay, so to let it stick, just a little bit of water. So this is the first part, fold it in 3. And again on this side. You see? It's even thick on every part. Now we are going to let it rest in the fridge. And we can continue in about 20-25 minutes to give it the second tour, as we call it. We're back at the puff pastry. It has rested for 25 minutes and now we are going to give it the second tour, the second fold. Start again. Little flour and start to roll it on the same shape. We're almost back at the same size. Again, with a little bit of water to let it stick together. Then again, in 3 ways. All the air out. And then like this. It goes back into the fridge again for 25 minutes. And then we can roll it out for the last time. Which will be completely different than the first two. Okay, back on the tray and put the same plastic on it where is written that we have already given one fold. Now another one, and so I know now the puff pastry has been had 2 folds back in the fridge. This brings us to the last time that we're gonna roll out the dough for the pastel de nata. So we have given it 2 half folds. Now it's going to be different. We're going to roll it out, but only in one direction. We want to make a long piece of dough, and then the last time that we fold, because there's one thing that the Portuguese do different than the French, we're not going to fold the dough, but we're going to roll it like a cylinder, which gives it in the end a certain structure in the pastel de nata. Okay, this part of dough we're going to roll out just lengthwise. The resting in between the folds is very important, because working the dough, the gluten will do their work and make the dough elastic. And when you let it rest, you can work it again. Otherwise, if you do it too fast, the dough in the end will be too elastic because of the gluten. Okay, next. It's going to be more than a meter. So now we're gonna make the cylinder by rolling the dough. First I'm going to moisten it. A little bit. And flatten this part where it will be the end. Later on you will see why. So we start from this side by rolling the dough. First a little bit, nice and tight, so we don't get air between the several layers of the puff pastry. So start rolling the dough like this. This part I will cut in three, then I will cut it through in three parts. Afterwards I will show you where you can see the different layers of the butter. Rolling it and push it back a little bit. Roll it, push it back. So we don't get air. Nice and tight. Don't rush it, just make it perfect. Fold it, back. Roll it, push it back. Flatten it here a bit. Again. Try to make a perfect cylinder. Now we can put a little bit of flour. And close it in on this part. Okay. You see? Even thick on all these sides. A perfect cylinder. Now the dough is ready. It needs to rest, and I'm going to wrap it in some plastic foil. But first I got it three ways, so you can have a look at the inside. Look at the layers of butter. Like I said, perfection does not exist, but we try to get as close as possible. Let me introduce you to our pastry chef, Claude Dinger. Claude comes from Suriname and he's been working with us for almost 2 years now. And in my humble opinion, he's one of the most creative pastry chef we have in the Netherlands. So Claude is going to show you how we make the cream to make our pastel de nata. So Claude, do your thing. Let's see.
Okay.
You start with?
We will start with 2 liters of milk.
In the pot. 2 liters of milk in the pot, and then we are going to add sugar.
And then we add 1 kilos of sugar.
1 kilo?
Yes, 1 kilos of sugar.
Okay.
Then all 500 grams.
Separately. Yeah. And then from
2 lemons.
And he's going to take the peel off. And then we have some beautiful Ceylon cinnamon sticks, which we're going to break to let out the flavor. Right, Claude?
Yes.
Okay. On a medium fire, we're going to warm the milk with the sugar, the peels of the lemon and the cinnamon. So the milk is infused by the flavors of the cinnamon and the peel of lemon. Okay, then we have 500 grams of sugar. And we are going to mix it with the flour, right, Claude?
Yeah, 300 grams.
300 grams.
Then
Mix
you,
it.
Then you whisk it. And when you're finished doing that, then you mix it with 1 liter of milk.
Later, all those ingredients, we're going to make one family out of it. But first, we mix the sugar and the flour dry. And the other liter of milk is going to be mixed with the flour and the sugar. Meanwhile, we bring the milk to the boil with the cinnamon and the peels of lemon. So this is nice mixed. Then we have here 510 grams of egg yolks. We will mix it at the end, but just before that the cream needs to cool down, otherwise the egg yolk will cook in the warm cream.
Will you also mention the ice?
Yes, so we bring the milk to the boil, then we're gonna sieve, put it through a sieve, because we want to get rid of the cinnamon and the peel of lemon when the flavor is in the milk. Then we're gonna mix it with this sugar flour mixture of sugar, flour and milk. Bring it again to the boil until it says bloop bloop. Bloop bloop means the cream is ready. So when the cream is ready, we're going to put it on ice. We're going to cool it down because we can only add the egg yolks after the cream has cooled down. In the meantime, we have a pot here with a sieve.
Does it taste good?
It tastes good. What's about the temperature? Is it good?
I think it's about
right?
98 degrees.
Maybe bring it slowly to the boil and pass it through a sieve, and then we can continue. Right?
Yep. Lekker.
Claude started out as a chef in the kitchen, working in several Michelin-starred restaurants here in the Netherlands. But during this time, he started to making a specialty out of pastry, and today, yeah, he does all the pastry in our restaurant, and he does it perfectly. Okay, next step. The milk on a sieve. Come on. Back on the heat. And now we are going to mix it with the cold part of the milk, sugar and flour.
Wil je dit voor me even whisken? Een klein beetje mengen?
So first we make family. And then... Hier, pak je die maar?
Ja.
Slowly over medium heat, we bring the cream to a boil until it does blub blub. Slowly, because if you want to do it full power, it starts to burn on the bottom of the pot, of the pan. Voelt nog geen bodem, toch?
Nee.
Slowly we start to see that the cream is thickening. Stirring on the bottom continuously so it doesn't get stick on the bottom. Kom je eraan?
Ja, je moet 1 keer blub doen.
Dan moet het blub blub doen, hè? Otherwise, je weet wel. Oké, kom maar dichterbij.
1 time blub. Ja.
Yeah, so it went. Okay, and now it's ice water, and we are going to cool it down. Oh,
Het is vol.
ja, nou niks te doen. So the cooling part is going to be 5 till 10 minutes. After 5 till 10 minutes, we are going to add the egg yolk and the cream is ready. It's cooled down with the ice. And now the final part of making the cream is adding the egg yolks. So Claude is mixing everything together, and afterwards we are going to put the cream in piping bags, and then we are ready to finish our pastel de nata. Perfect, Claude?
Yep.
The dough has rested in the fridge. We can cut it in pieces. So this is not a dough you roll out. It's a dough that we fold in with our thumbs. It's a special technique. So first we cut the dough in little parts. This we put it on the bottom of the mold. These are the original pastel de nata molds from Portugal. They are a little bit smaller than the original. Why? Because people eat this in our restaurant at the end of a lunch or a meal. So it's just one of the friandises we are serving with the coffee. So they're slightly smaller than the original in Portugal. People eat it after 3, 4, 5, 6 or 7 course lunch or menu. So let me show you the technique. The dough is in the molds, and then with your fingers and your thumb, first you wetten it with water, cold water. Then you, from the middle out, you fold it into the mold pretty quickly, otherwise the body heat will start to melt the butter, and a little bit outside the mold. Then with a wet thumb and finger you can make the dough like this. And with this technique, after the baking process, you will see the several layers of the puff pastry. So it's a technique that should be done quite quickly. Evenly thick on every part, so the bottom and the sides, and then end it with a wet thumb and finger to put it perfectly evenly thick on every part of the mold. This is the way it's still been done in Portugal by all the pastry chefs. It cannot be done by a machine, fortunately, because like this, the profession of pastry chef keeps existing. Pastelarias, pasteleiros, as they called in Portugal. Chef pasteleiros. Wet thumb, put the dough in the mold, evenly thick on every part. And the only thing we have to do now is put in the cream and bake it for 7 to 8 minutes in an oven of 230 degrees Celsius, which is quite hot, but this will caramelize the cream on top and make the dough crispy at the same time. For me, it's the best pastry in the world, and it's gaining on popularity worldwide, the pastel de nata. This is a sweet which we serve to our guests for approximately 10 years now.
Heb je nog bosui ergens die je kan missen?
Dat is nog mooi, maar de basis.
The folding of the dough. The cream cloth just made, we put it in a piping bag, and now we are going to fill the molds with the puff pastry with the cream.
Grotere balans.
So they go into the oven. (230 degrees) for approximately 7 minutes, but maybe 8. This is what we see in the end. Blower is in the middle. And now, patience to see the end result of our pastéis de nata. Kijk ze eens pruttelen. Hier word je toch blij van? This is the way I like to see them. You see the puff pastry? You see the different layers of the puff pastry? So now we are taking them out of the molds and put them on this tray. So in my humble opinion, this is a pastel de nata cooked to the point of perfection. I cannot make it better than this. Crispy on the outside, soft, sweet on the inside. The national pastry of Portugal. Pastel de nata. 1 pastel de nata, 2 pastéis de nata. Love it. Kaneelpoeder ernaast. Wij in het Nonnetje maken ze af met gemalen kaneelnagels. Kaneelnagels zijn de gedroogde besjes van de... Doen we dat vanavond in het Engels of zal ik het nu in het Engels nog een keer doen?
Ja.
So when you order pastel de nata in Portugal, they will serve you cinnamon powder on the side. And you can do it as much as you want. In het Nonnetje, we are finishing the pastel de nata with the dried berries of the cinnamon tree. And then we grate it à la minute on the table. And the dried berries of the cinnamon tree, they have an amazing flavor of cinnamon. Actually, it's the perfect cinnamon powder to top off the pastel de nata. Enjoy!